Hi, and welcome to the Caterpillar Cross Stitch YouTube channel. My name is Ford from Son of a Stitch, and I'm doing another video this week where I'm answering a viewer question from the comments of a previous video. So if you have a question you'd like me to answer, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and then leave that question in the comments, and I'll add it to my list of future video ideas and see if I can get an answer for you. But this week, we're going to be talking about how to sign your finished cross-stitch pieces before you put them up for display. Now I have used a number of different methods to sign my pieces, and I've seen people in the online communities that I'm in use a number of different methods. If you want to see the diversity of the way people handle this, I highly recommend joining the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Facebook group and Instagram. There's tens of thousands of stitchers there that can share with you their specific ways of doing things, and it's just a tremendous cultural resource to have available at your fingertips. But let me show you what I've done. So one thing that I've done is to embroider my initials and a date into a piece of felt before I basted it onto the back of my finished project. Now these days I would usually use a blanket stitch instead of just this, probably basically a whip stitch. But this was one of the first pieces that I ever backed this way, and I used the metallic floss, which was probably also a mistake, but I do really like the way that that looks, and then that holds it in the frame really nicely. So this is a really handy way to be able to finish the piece and have it look really good, and then have the whole thing kind of self-enclosed. I've also used a wooden disc and done a lacing stitch in a rotating pattern all the way around, and this one I had custom laser engraved with my logo. You can also have, your name or whatever laser engraved in something like that. You could probably order those online somewhere. I have my own laser cutter, so that's why I've done it that way. You can also finish pieces in a hoop with just a circular disc of foam core or wood that's cut slightly smaller than the inside ring of the hoop, and you can just stuff it in there and it will hold the fabric, and then you could just sign that with a Sharpie and that's all ready to gift. Now the most common way to sign a cross-stitch piece is just to initial and date it on the front of the piece within the grid of the fabric. Now you can save yourself a lot of trouble if you take the time to chart that out ahead of time so you know what that's going to look like and how that's going to fit into the project. So you can just use some printable grid paper like this, or a blank area, or even draw it directly onto your printed pattern that you're working from. But you're going to want to figure out how big you're going to make that. Most of the time I aim for letters that are about 2 stitches high and then 1 to 2 stitches wide, because I want to keep it nice and small and discreet. So if I'm going to use my initials, I'm just going to start by kind of testing those out. I'm going to go 2 stitches tall and 1 to 2 stitches wide. Now obviously the J of my first name doesn't need to be quite as wide as the W in the middle. And those actually look pretty decent just like they are. But I'm also going to want to put a date on here. So I'll figure out how wide that's going to be. Now I'm trying to keep these simple. I don't want to do any small little fractional stitches or anything like that. So I'm keeping my stitches pretty simple. And I can decide whether I want to do a full 4-year date or whether I want to just do a 2-year date. I think I'm going to do all 4 digits of the date. But I think I'm going to align them on the right. So I'm going to redraw this. And I know that I want to start with a right align. So I'm going to start from the right and go that way, instead of working from the left. So now that I'm happy with how that's going to look, I'm going to just go ahead and stitch that onto a finished piece that I haven't yet framed up. So I've got this piece here that you might recognize from the video that I did earlier about beading. And before this gets all framed up, I'm going to go ahead and add that stitching on there. Now I have some stitches here already, so it'll be easy to start my thread. I'll just run my thread underneath there, and I want to pick kind of a spot on the project that is a little bit unobtrusive, kind of tucked in just a little bit. So the bottom part of this sweater doesn't extend down quite as far as the bottom part of the sleeves. So that's going to create a perfect opportunity here for me to actually do this. So I'm just going to put my stitch right here in this area. So I'm going to start from right here. And I'm going to be starting over on the right side because I want my signature to be over around here. So I will just use back stitch or running stitch or straight stitch of any kind that makes sense. And I'll stitch those initials on there. I'll speed this up for you. While I'm doing that, I want to remind you to join the Caterpillar Cross Stitch VIP Stitch Club. When you join, you'll get 10% off your first order, you'll get a digital download of our top 10 cross-stitching tips, and you'll get an ebook with 8 free PDF cross-stitch patterns in it. So make sure you hit the link down there in the description to sign up for all of those great perks. There, now that I've finished the stitching on that, I can just go ahead and bury my thread under some existing stitches and maybe even poke it through the weave of the fabric like I showed you in the backstitch episode. Get that thread finished off all nice and tight. We'll trim off my tail. And it's really as simple as that. You can save yourself a lot of hassle by remembering to print out some graph paper and actually draw out what you're going to stitch ahead of time, plan it ahead of time. So there we have a nicely stitched signature on there that once you've designed it, you can use it for all of your projects. Just update the year occasionally, obviously. I do have a small confession, which I didn't actually stitch this sweater. This is a piece that was sent to me by Sally to use as a demo in these videos. So whoever's over at the Caterpillar team that stitched this sweater, don't worry, I'm not going to steal credit for your work. I'm going to cut those stitches back out. What about you? Do you have something different that you do, the way you sign your pieces? Something you want to share with the other viewers? Leave that in the comments down below. Other than that, I do want to thank you so much for watching. For Caterpillar Cross Stitch, my name is Ford, and I will see you next time.